to do something, it takes you a really long time to get it done, and you keep thinking, oh, how long is this going to take? Am I ever going to get anything accomplished? Or have you ever done something that seemed kind of small and you think, what was even the point in me doing that? Did it really have an impact on anything at all? Today we're going to talk about self-image and self-improvement. Self-image is the way that we feel about ourselves or the way that we see ourselves. You can have positive and negative self-image. For example, I may think I'm an awesome mom, so I have positive self-image with that, but I think I'm a really horrible housekeeper. My house is a disaster. So that would be a negative self-image. But both of those things impact my self-image, so how I feel about myself as a whole. Now, self-improvement is when we recognize our strengths and our weaknesses and we work on improving our weaknesses. So, for example, if I think I'm a horrible housekeeper, then I could work on improving that so that would change from a negative to a positive of my self-image. So, we're going to kind of compare self-improvement to something maybe you wouldn't naturally think of. A pecan. All right? Now, bear with me, okay? A pecan grows in a pecan tree. So most of the trees that you see are pecan trees. What happens is those pecans fall to the ground when they're ready. And let me pick up a few. They fall whole, just like this, okay? So they start off like this. They're gonna change throughout the course of this video. Just like you would change your self-image throughout the course of you recognizing your weaknesses or maybe changing the things that you like or setting goals and reaching towards those goals to accomplish them. And once you've reached a goal, it makes you feel really good about yourself. If you set a goal and you do something that kind of sets you back a little ways, it might make you feel kind of crummy for a little bit. And the point is that you don't give up. You keep going towards reaching your goal, even if you have a bad day or you do something that sets you back from reaching that goal. So these pecans could fall from the tree, they could stay on the ground, nothing would ever change. They would still look the same until they got mowed over and they just kind of deteriorated. But we're not gonna let that happen to these pecans, okay? So once a pecan drops to the ground and it's whole, we pick them up and then they get cracked. Now, we could take them to somebody and let them crack all of them and would save us a lot of time. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna go ahead and use a nutcracker and we're gonna crack some of these open. So, what's inside of a pecan shell? We're just gonna crack this one open and take a look. I didn't do a very good job of cracking that. I busted it all up. But, lots of pecan pieces in there. This is a pretty looking pecan. Now, a pecan by itself, that's a good pecan. Tastes really good. Can it be improved though? It could definitely be improved. And that's what we're gonna work on in this video. Okay, we're gonna work on this pecan's image. We're gonna improve it a little bit. So stay tuned. Once we crack all of the pecans, we're gonna put them, well, first we're gonna lay them all out so that they'll dry out. That way the flavor is more preserved in them. And then once they're all ready to go, then we put them in baggies to either sell or to freeze. So these are some that we've kept for our cooking purposes. So they've been frozen. So I just pulled those out of the freezer and prepared them for our pie. I like for my pecans to be all chopped up in my pecan pie. A lot of people will just keep them in the halves. So see, those are just in the halves, they're not chopped. But I prefer mine to be all chopped up. So I've chopped up all of my pecan halves. I used my chopper, chopped them all up into pecan halves for our pecan pie. And actually, I'm not using a pie plate or a pie pan to make our pecan dessert. We're actually going to use these and we're going to do little pecan loaves. I like making desserts in these little loaves because then it's better for like an individual to eat that dessert versus an entire pie where we have to cut it up. So that's just my personal preference, but I hope that you follow along. All right, so Once the pecans have fallen and we've cracked them and we've separated them out into all of their halves, now it's time to get cooking. Okay, now remember we're relating this back to self-improvement. So just like a pecan, you could just sit there and not do anything and be okay with your life and your own self-image, or you could do some things to help improve it. Now remember, we tasted that pecan outside and it tasted good. It was okay. But when we add in all these other ingredients, okay, when that pecan lets other things contribute to the way that it feels about itself or the way that it tastes, okay, it's gonna taste a lot better. So for us, if we allow outside influences, good influences, to help kind of shape and mold us, whether that's reaching our goals, going to college, getting a job, doing what our parents ask us to do, making friendships, all of those things help improve our self-image. Okay, so we're gonna start with the crust. So you have your list of ingredients, but watch us as we make the crust, okay? All right, now the recipe is provided for you. So I'm just gonna read through as I do what I'm doing. It says, in a food processor or a large bowl, combine the flour, sugar, and salt. So I actually have a manual food processor, so I'm gonna use that. But if you don't have one of those, you can always just use a bowl. So I'm just gonna combine the flour. Hopefully I have room in here. I may need to use a bowl first. Do flour, put all your flour in there. So this flour fills up almost my whole manual food processor. And then you wanna put your sugar and your salt. So my manual food processor, all it is it's just stirring all that up for me in there. So if you're using a bowl, you do it in a bowl. Okay, so once all that is all stirred up, then you're gonna add your buttery spread, okay? So we're doing dairy-free, so we have a dairy-free ingredient listed. If you wanna use butter, you could use butter. I'm just gonna add that in, actually move it to this big bowl because I don't think I have room in my food processor. So if you've already started off with a bowl, you're one step ahead of me. And you're gonna whisk it. Let me get my colorful whisk here. And it just says until it forms like a coarse, until it gets kind of coarse. So I'm just gonna make sure that that butter or that spread, whatever it is that you're using, gets kind of clumpy in there. Once you have your mixture kind of clumpy, see how that's kind of clumpy? Gradually add enough ice water until moist clumps form. So I've got my water here. I'm just gonna add that in. Grab a spoon real quick. It always helps to read the instructions or the recipe, by the way, because I didn't realize that I was supposed to let this sit in the refrigerator for 2 hours or overnight. So for our purposes, we're not gonna do that because the way that I'm making this pecan dessert, I'm not really doing a pie, I'm doing more of a dessert. It's gonna be more of like a crumble anyways. So I'm not gonna let it set. But if you want that hard crust, like a traditional pecan pie, you're gonna wanna let it set in the refrigerator overnight or at least for 2 hours. So it's starting to clump together really good, but it's still kind of dry. And this called for 6 to 8 tablespoons of water. I did 7, since it's right there in the middle. And it seems like 7 might just do the trick. It looks like that's gonna work. So just like with your self-improvement, we haven't added the pecans in yet, but think about maybe the people around you and the things that influence you. So that's what this would be, okay? So these things would be the things that influence you. And just like you and your self-improvement, these things had to improve, right? So it started off, it wasn't quite what we wanted. We're adding a little bit of water to make it the texture that we need. So your outside influences, they also change over time. All right, so I think this is kind of what we're looking for. It sticks together. You can roll it into a ball. So if you're making a pecan pie, you're gonna wanna roll this up and you're gonna wanna wrap it in plastic wrap and refrigerate it for at least 2 hours or overnight. For us, I'm just gonna line this bar pan with some of this so that it can be kind of a crumbly, once it's done, it'll be more of like a crumbly crust at the bottom. And this is a non-stick pan, so I didn't spray it with anything, but if you have a different kind of pan, you'll wanna spray it with some kind of an oil or something, or non-stick spray. So you just want to line whatever pan it is that you're using. If you're making a pie, after you've let this set, you'll line your pie pan with the crust. In this sake, I'm going to line all of the little bar pans with the pie crust mixture. All right, now it's time to do the filling. In a large bowl, whisk together our melted buttery spread. And if you're making this with dairy, you can just use butter. Our liquid sweetener. That's the part I like. Doesn't it look yummy? Our brown sugar and vanilla. All right, so we're just gonna whisk all of that together. Oh, it already looks good and it smells good. I love brown sugar and I love vanilla. Take a look. All right, then it says, add the eggs and salt and whisk until the mixture is well combined. So we're gonna add the eggs. We're just gonna whisk that. Then it says to fold in the pecan halves. So I'm just gonna put those in there. All right, so there you go. That looks yummy. We have already set our oven, so you'll want to set your oven to 350 before you do all of this stuff. So be sure to preheat your oven to 350 before you start baking. All right, so we're just going to fill our little pie crust molds. So I'm just going to fill my little loaves with my mixture. All right, and we're just gonna pop that in there for however long it takes. I'm just gonna have to keep an eye on it. If you're doing a pecan pie, it says between 60 and 70 minutes. Hopefully this will be a little bit shorter of amount of time. All right, guys. So I baked mine for about 30 minutes because keep in mind, mine are just the small little loaves. We went from this pecan to these delicious, I wish there was smell vision, delicious desserts. Okay, so just like the pecan tasted pretty good at the beginning, these are gonna taste so much better. And that is because the pecan went through many stages to get to where it is right now. Same thing goes for you. Okay, you may think that your life is great right now, but if you continue to build on yourself and you continue to make those self-improvements, over time you'll look back and you'll say, wow, I thought life was good back then, and look at everything that I've achieved and everything I've accomplished. And you might be sitting there thinking, life's not great right now. I don't think life's great right now. For some of us, life isn't great, but it can be. It can be great. So look at your weaknesses. What are some of your negative self-images? What makes you feel like life isn't great? Work on those things. Don't stay here. Work to get here.